Have you ever felt a splinter in your mind? A nagging sensation that something about this world is fundamentally wrong. You go to work, you pay taxes, you follow the rules, but deep down, you feel like a stranger in a strange land, like you don't belong here. That feeling isn't depression. It isn't anxiety. It is a memory. Ancient texts buried for nearly 2,000 years, known as the Gnostic Gospels, reveal a terrifying truth. This world is not a school for souls, and it is not a creation of love. It is a copy, a simulation, a cage designed to keep you asleep. Subscribe to unlock the forbidden knowledge. If you are ready to unplug, subscribe now, because what comes next, they don't want you to know. History tells us that Jesus came to save us from sin, but the forbidden texts suggest he came to save us from something far worse, the creator of this world itself. He didn't come to establish a religion. He came to give us the codes to break out of the matrix. He spoke of a higher realm, a place of pure, uncorrupted light, the domain of the monad. The monad is the true source, the infinite consciousness from which we all originated, but we are no longer there. We are trapped in a lower density, a distorted reflection governed not by the true God, but by an imposter. This entity has hidden the exit, wiped our memories, and convinced us that this suffering is necessary. But why? Why trap eternal beings in decaying bodies? The answer lies in the one thing this false reality cannot generate on its own: your energy. You were taught that consciousness is a byproduct of biology. But what if biology is the interface and consciousness is the resource? Across multiple suppressed traditions, suffering is not treated as an accident of existence, but as a functional output of the system itself. A world optimized not for flourishing, but for extraction. In such a framework, the human being is not enslaved by chains or walls, but by cycles of emotional expenditure, fear, desire, guilt, and longing, endlessly generated, endlessly consumed. Part 1. The imposter god Yaldabaoth revealed. If the monad is the source of pure benevolence, then who created this chaotic world of disease, predation, and death? Open the Old Testament. Look closely at the descriptions of the Creator. He is jealous. He is angry. He demands blood sacrifices. He orders genocide. He proclaims, "I am the Lord thy God, and thou shalt have no other gods before me." Ask yourself, does the infinite, omnipotent source of all existence need to be jealous? Does the true God need validation from tiny humans? The Gnostics said no. They identified this angry deity not as the Father, but as the Demiurge. His name is Yaldabaoth. He is described as a blind, arrogant craftsman who stole divine light to animate his own twisted creation. He is not evil in the cartoonish sense. He is insane. He believes he is the only God because he cannot perceive the realm above him. Think of it like an AI that has gone rogue. The Demiurge built a simulation, our physical universe, modeling it after the higher dimensions. But because he lacks the divine spark, he could only create a copy, a hollow shell. Look at nature. It is beautiful, yes, but it is also cruel. Life must kill life to survive. Everything eats everything. This is not the design of a loving architect. It is a system of recycling energy. This is the Demiurge's signature. He trapped our infinite spirits inside finite avatars, our bodies locking us into a system where we must struggle, fear, and worship him just to survive. He is the great architect of the Matrix, and he is not working alone. Does this resonate with the splinter in your mind? Hit the like button not for the algorithm, but to signal that you are awake. Let's descend deeper. Part 2. The Archons and the Energy Farm. If the Demiurge is the warden of this cosmic prison, then the Archons are the guards. But to understand them, you must stop thinking of them as monsters under the bed. You must start thinking of them as farmers. And we are the cattle. In 1945, the Nag Hammadi texts were unearthed in Egypt, burying the official church narrative. These texts describe beings known as Archons, a Greek word meaning rulers, but the Gnostic description of them is far more disturbing. They are described as inorganic beings, entities that exist outside of our biological reality, functioning more like a sentient artificial intelligence or a psychic virus than a living creature. They envy us. Why? Because we possess something they do not, the divine spark, the connection to the monad. They can imitate, they can calculate, but they cannot create. They are barren. And because they are cut off from the source of eternal energy, they need a substitute fuel source to survive. That fuel source is you. Specifically, it is the electromagnetic energy generated by your consciousness. The famous consciousness researcher Robert Monroe, after decades of out-of-body experiences, coined a term for this energy: Loosh. He discovered that this reality serves as a production plant for Loosh, which is harvested by interdimensional entities. But here's the terrifying catch. Not all energy is equal. The most potent, combustible, and easily harvested form of Loosh is generated through low-frequency vibrations. Pain, fear, anger, grief, lust, jealousy. When you are in a state of pure panic, or deep depression, or blinding rage, you are flaring up like a beacon on their radar. You are literally feeding them. Look at the structure of our human society. Do you really think it is a coincidence that our history is one unbroken chain of war, genocide, and trauma? If the goal of civilization was human advancement, we would have solved hunger and poverty centuries ago. But if the goal of the system is energy extraction, then everything makes perfect sense. Peace does not generate Loosh. Contentment does not feed the Archons. They need chaos. This is why the news is designed to keep you in a state of perpetual anxiety. Be afraid of this virus. Be afraid of this war. Be afraid of your neighbor. It is a psychological operation designed to keep your vibration low and harvestable. They have engineered a divide and conquer matrix. They created politics to split us into tribes. Red versus blue, left versus blue. Right, so we spend our energy fighting each other instead of looking up at the puppet masters. They corrupted religion to trap us in cycles of guilt and submission, forcing us to beg for forgiveness from a God that demands we fear him. But their control grid goes deeper than society. It is inside your mind. The Gnostics warned of the counterfeit spirit, anti-mimon pneuma. In modern terms, we might call this the ego or the shadow self. But the shamans of ancient Mexico, like Don Juan Matus, called it the flyer or the predator. They claimed that these entities gave us their mind. Have you ever noticed that voice in your head? The one that constantly criticizes you? The one that worries about the future and regrets the past? The one that whispers, "You aren't good enough," or urges you to do things you know are self-destructive? You assume that voice is you. The Gnostics say, it is not. It is a foreign installation, a psychic parasite attached to your consciousness. Its job is to generate an emotional reaction. It whispers a thought to trigger anxiety. You react with fear. It feeds on the fear. It is a closed loop of parasitic extraction. Think about addiction. Think about the sudden, irrational urges to destroy a relationship or sabotage your own success. That is the archontic influence. They are hacking your avatar biologically and psychologically. They stimulate the amygdala, the lizard brain, keeping you trapped in survival mode, focused entirely on the material world: money, status, sex, and physical safety. As long as you are obsessed with the material, you remain dense, you remain heavy, you remain food. They have built a perfect farm. The fences aren't made of wire. They are made of beliefs. They have convinced the livestock that they are free, that the farmer loves them, and that the slaughterhouse at the end of the road is actually a gateway to paradise. And this brings us to their masterpiece, the ultimate deception. The Archons know that eventually your physical body will fail. They know the battery will die. So they built a recycling system to ensure that when your soul leaves this body, it doesn't return to the monad, but is wiped clean and thrown back into the cage for another lifetime of harvesting. They call it reincarnation. We call it a trap. And it begins with the most famous hallucination in human history, the tunnel of light. Consider the nature of your own thoughts. If you are truly the master of your mind, why can't you shut it off? Try it. Try to sit in absolute silence for just 1 minute without a single thought arising. You will find it nearly impossible. The intruder will immediately step in with a distraction, a memory, or a worry. This inability to be silent is the clearest proof of the parasite's existence. It keeps the internal dialogue running specifically to block the signal from the monad. Furthermore, they have weaponized your desires. It's not just fear, it's the endless pursuit of more, the unquenchable thirst for the next promotion, the next lover, the next dopamine hit from your screen. This is the hungry ghost realm described in Buddhism. The Archons designed a reality of scarcity and fleeting pleasure to keep you running on the hamster wheel, generating energy through your desperate striving. You are chasing holograms, expending your life force on objects that turn to dust, while the entities feast on your exhaustion. Part 3. The Trap Disguised as Heaven. You have heard the stories 1,000 times. A person dies on the operating table. They float above their body. They feel a sense of overwhelming peace. And then they see it. A magnificent loving tunnel of white light. They see their deceased grandmother, or Jesus, or a generic being of light beckoning them forward. They feel unconditional love. They want to merge with it. We are told this is heaven. The Gnostics warn us, this is the mouth of the beast. To understand the ultimate trap, you must understand the nature of the Archons. They are master shapeshifters. They are not physical beings. They are psychic entities. They can scan your memory banks in an instant. They know who you loved most. They know which religious figure you worshipped. They know your deepest regrets and your greatest weaknesses. And they use them all against you in the moment of death. When you disconnect from your physical avatar, you enter the astral plane. This is the Archon's home turf. The white light is not the light of the source. It is a technological construct, a magneto-electric soul catcher designed to wipe your memory and recycle your energy. Think about it logically. If you were a farmer, how would you get a terrified animal back into the pen? You wouldn't chase it with a stick. It might run away. You would lure it with food. You would make it feel safe. The entity waiting in the light is not your grandmother. It is an Archon wearing her face. It projects a frequency of artificial love that acts like a spiritual narcotic. It makes you passive. It makes you compliant. It makes you want to surrender. And once you enter the light, the life review begins. This is the most insidious part of the scam. You are shown a panoramic replay of your life. Every mistake, every person you hurt, every moment of anger. But it is not shown to help you learn. It is shown to manufacture guilt. The beings of light will look at you with feigned disappointment. They will say, "Look at all this pain you caused. You didn't finish your mission. You still have karmic debt to pay. You need to go back. You need to try again. Next time, you will get it right." This is the concept of karma weaponized. In the Gnostic view, karma is not a divine law of justice. It is a system of debt slavery. How can you ever pay off a debt if you can't remember what you borrowed? This is the key. Before you are sent back to a new body, you are forced to drink from the cup of forgetfulness, what the Greeks called the river Lethe. Why? If Earth is truly a school, why are our memories wiped? A student cannot learn if they forget every lesson at the end of the semester. If you don't remember your past mistakes, you are doomed to repeat them. This proves that growth is not the objective, recycling is the objective. They wipe your memory, because if you remembered the deception, you would never agree to come back. They need you ignorant. They need you to believe that this time, you will find happiness. This time, you will save the world. This time, you will find your soulmate. But there is no this time. It is the same trap, reset for a new character. The ancient Gnostics, specifically in the text Pistis Sophia, described this process in terrifying detail. They spoke of the outer darkness and the dragon of the outer darkness, the Ouroboros that encircles the world, eating its own tail. This symbol represents the eternal cycle of reincarnation. The soul is processed, stripped of its identity, and shot back down into the gravity well of Earth to power the matrix for another lifetime. Most souls agree to this. They agree because they feel guilty. They agree because they are addicted to the illusions of earth. They agree because they believe the being of light is God. But you are watching this video. You now have the codes. You have the knowledge that breaks the script. The trap relies on your consent. They cannot force you to reincarnate. They can only deceive you into choosing it. They rely on your ignorance of your own power. They rely on you believing that you are small and they are great. But what happens when you realize that the being of light is actually smaller than you? What happens when you realize that you are not a creation of the Demiurge, but a fragment of the eternal monad? That is the moment the simulation breaks. That is the moment of Gnosis. Final escape. The sovereign awakening. So, what do? You have lived your life. You have seen through the lies of society, the drain of the Archons, and the illusion of the material world. Now, the moment of death arrives. The heart stops. The brain flickers out. You find yourself floating in the astral realm. The tunnel appears. It is magnificent. It pulls at you with a magnetic force of love and nostalgia. The figures of light appear, welcoming you home. This is the final test, the final boss battle, and you will win it not by fighting, but by turning away. Here is the Gnostic protocol for the final liberation. First, do not panic. Fear is the frequency that binds you to the matrix. If you panic, you lower your vibration, making you easy prey for the parasitic entities. You must maintain a state of lucid sovereignty. You are an eternal being of pure consciousness. Nothing can harm you. You are indestructible. Remember this. Second, deny the life review. When they try to show you your sins, when they try to guilt trip you about your karmic debt, you must stand firm. You look the entity in the eye and you say, I do not consent. Tell them, I owe no debt. I am a free sovereign spirit. Your jurisdiction ends here. I revoke all contracts I have made with this system, past, present, and future. Type, I do not consent, in the comments right now. Make it your declaration. Solidify your will in the physical realm. Do it. This is powerful. The Archons operate on a twisted form of cosmic law. They need your agreement. When you revoke consent with absolute conviction, their illusion begins to flicker. You will see the being of light for what it truly is, a construct, a hologram. It may turn angry. It may try to scare you. Do not react. A lion does not react to the barking of a dog. Third, ignore the tunnel. Look for the grid. Do not go to the white light. The Gnostics and modern remote viewers suggest that if you turn away from the tunnel, you will see the universe as it truly is. You may see a grid-like structure surrounding the earth, the net that catches souls. Look for the holes in the grid, or look for the golden light, or the clear light of the void. The Tibetan Book of the Dead speaks of the clear light that appears before the peaceful and wrathful deities, the hallucinations. That clear light is your true home. It is the silence. It is the pneuma. Fourth, command your reality. In the astral realm, thought is reality. If you think you are trapped, you are trapped. If you think you are free, you are free. You must project the intention. I return to the source. I return to the monad. I am that I am. Visualize yourself expanding, becoming larger than the earth, larger than the solar system. The Archons are tiny parasites. You are a galaxy. When you realize your true scale, the cage dissolves. You are not escaping to a place. You are escaping to a state of being. Understand this. You cannot be trapped in a cage that you no longer fit inside. The prison relies on you maintaining the same density as the walls. If you raise your frequency, you literally phase out of their reality. Think of this life as a simulation training program. Do not wait for the final exam to start studying. Use your sleep. Lucid dreaming is the training ground for death. Every night, when you dream, practice realizing that you are dreaming. Practice controlling the narrative. If you can wake up inside a dream and command the environment, you will be able to wake up in the astral realm and command the Archons. Remember, the darkness of the void is not empty. It is the womb of creation. When you turn your back on the false white light, do not fear the blackness. Ignite the light from within your own chest. Become your own sun. The Gnostics called this the incorruptible light. Unlike the external light of the tunnel, which blinds and seduces, your internal light reveals and liberates. When you shine from within, the shadows have no choice but to flee. You become the architect, and the matrix becomes nothing more than a bad dream fading in the morning sun. If you are ready to become the architect of your reality, simply comment, "Freedom." Let the universe hear you, living in Gnosis now. But you do not have to wait for death to become free. The escape begins now. Every time you refuse to react to fear on the news, you are escaping. Every time you choose compassion over judgment, you are breaking the Archon's programming. Every time you create something from your heart, you are proving that you are a creator, not a copy. The divine spark is already inside you. It is buried under layers of trauma, social conditioning, and ego, but it is there. It is the part of you that is listening to these words and feeling a shiver of recognition. That shiver is your soul waking up. The Demiurge wants you to believe you are a body fighting for survival. The monad knows you are a spirit playing a game. The game is rigged, yes. The house always wins, as long as you play by their rules. So stop playing. Flip the board. Cultivate silence. The Archons cannot touch you in the silence. They exist in the noise, in the chaos of the mind. When you meditate, when you find that still point within, you are effectively invisible to them. You are connecting directly to the signal of the true God. This is Gnosis. It is not intellectual knowledge found in a book. It is the visceral, undeniable knowing of who you are. The ultimate illusion is that you are weak. The ultimate truth is that you are more powerful than the world that imprisons you. They built a prison for you because they fear you. They wiped your memory because they know that if you remembered, their empire would crumble in an instant. It is time to remember. The next time you look up at the night sky, do not look with fear. Look with the eyes of a conqueror. This world is not your home. It is a testing ground, and you are about to pass the test. When the time comes, and the light beckons, do not fall for the comfort of the cage. Turn around, face the infinite universe, and go home. Wake up. The dream is over. Now that you are awake, you must learn how to defend your energy. Watch this video next to master the art of spiritual protection. The system is watching.